The smoke over Monte Cassino was not merely a cloud, it was a physical weight, a suffocating mixture of pulverized limestone, cordite, and the metallic tang of blood. In the spring of 1944, the Allied advance in Italy had ground to a bloody, stagnant halt. The Gustav Line, anchored by the ancient abbey atop the mountain, was a fortress designed by geography and perfected by the Wehrmacht. Every crate of 25-pounder shells hauled up those jagged slopes was bought with the lives of young men. The logistics were a nightmare. The terrain was a vertical graveyard, but amidst the roar of the artillery and the screams of the wounded, a shadow moved that defied every manual of military doctrine. It was massive, shaggy, and weighed 500 pounds. It wasn't a man, and it wasn't a machine. This is the tactical log of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company. This is the story of the private who was a bear, and how he became the ultimate force multiplier in one of the most brutal battles of the Second World War. By early 1944, the Allied High Command faced an impossible problem. The road to Rome was blocked by the Liri Valley, and the Liri Valley was overlooked by Monte Cassino. The German 1st Fallschirmjäger Division, the elite Green Devils, held the heights. They had transformed the ruins of the abbey into a series of interconnected fire zones. The tactical situation was grim. Standard motorized transport was useless on the mountain's goat paths. Mules were the primary logistic solution, but mules are notoriously temperamental under fire. A single mortar blast could panic a pack train, sending precious ammunition tumbling into the ravines. The Allies were burning through shells at an unprecedented rate. The 2nd Polish Corps, led by General Władysław Anders, was tasked with the final desperate assault. They were men with nothing left to lose, survivors of Soviet labor camps who had traveled thousands of miles to reclaim a country that was being bargained away by the great powers. They needed more than just courage. They needed a miracle of logistics. They needed Wojtek. To understand why a bear was necessary, we must first analyze the geometry of death at Monte Cassino. The mountain rises abruptly 1,700 feet above the valley floor. There is no easy way up. The main road, Highway 6, was a kill zone, zeroed in by German 88mm guns. To supply the Polish batteries, soldiers had to navigate Snake's Head Ridge and Phantom Ridge, narrow limestone spines where one misstep meant a fall into an abyss, and one loud noise meant an invitation for a mortar barrage. A standard infantryman, already carrying 60 pounds of gear, could carry maybe one extra 25-pounder shell. A mule could carry 2 crates, but a mule requires a handler, and a mule scares. If a handler is hit, the mule is lost. If the mule is hit, the path is blocked. The Polish commanders were looking at a mathematical deficit. They were consuming ammunition faster than their logistics chain could replenish it. The question looming over the 22nd Company was simple. How do you maintain a high volume of fire when the supply line is a vertical crawl through a thunderstorm of steel? Wojtek's journey did not begin in a lab or a training camp. It began in the dust of Iran in 1942. A group of Polish soldiers, skeletal and weary from their time in the gulags, encountered a young boy with an orphaned Syrian brown bear cub. For the price of a few tins of food, the cub became a member of the 22nd Company. They named him Wojtek, the joyful warrior. To the Polish soldiers, Wojtek was more than a pet. He was a symbol of their own displacement. Like them, he was an exile. Like them, he was growing strong in the face of adversity. He was raised on a diet of condensed milk from vodka bottles and later beer and cigarettes. He didn't just live with the men, he adopted their mannerisms. He learned to salute. He learned to wrestle without extending his claws. He learned the hierarchy of the unit. But as the 22nd Company prepared to move into the Italian theater, a bureaucratic wall emerged. The British High Command, overseeing the transport ships, had a strict no-pets policy. The Polish solution was a masterstroke of military technicality. They didn't leave him behind. They enlisted him. Wojtek was given a service number, the rank of private, and was officially added to the muster rolls of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company. He was no longer a mascot. He was a soldier of the Polish land forces. This wasn't just a clever trick to get him on a boat. It meant he was entitled to rations, medical care, and, most importantly, he was expected to perform duties. The 2nd Polish Corps arrived at the base of Monte Cassino in May 1944. 3 previous Allied attempts to take the mountain had failed. The slopes were littered with the wreckage of Sherman tanks and the bodies of American, British, New Zealand, and Indian soldiers. The psychological weight was as heavy as the physical terrain. The soldiers could look up and see the Abbey, like a stone eye watching their every movement. The 22nd Company was responsible for keeping the heavy guns fed. This required a constant shuttle of ammunition from the valley floor to the hidden battery positions in the rocks. The Green Devils on the heights kept the paths under constant observation. Artillery fire was surgical. Snipers watched the gaps in the smoke. Imagine the sensory overload, the constant rhythmic thump-thump of the heavy guns, the smell of burnt diesel from the trucks, and the freezing, rain-slicked mud. The soundscape was a chaotic symphony of incoming and outgoing. To a human, the sound of an 81mm mortar shell whooshing through the air triggers an instinctive, paralyzing fear. In this environment, Private Wojtek found his purpose. While the human soldiers struggled with the weight of the 25-pounder shell crates, each requiring 4 men to move efficiently over broken ground, Wojtek observed. He saw his brothers in arms straining, their faces red with exertion, their boots slipping on the scree. Without a command, the bear approached a truck. He stood on his hind legs, reaching out his massive forepaws. The soldiers, initially hesitant, placed a crate in his arms. Wojtek didn't stumble. He didn't complain. He tucked the heavy wooden box against his chest and began to walk. The tactical specs of a Syrian brown bear are impressive. Fully grown, Wojtek stood nearly 6 feet tall on his hind legs. His musculature was designed for digging and climbing. What would take 4 men 10 minutes to carry through the mud, Wojtek could carry in 2, and he could do it alone. The turning point of the 22nd Company's mission occurred during the height of the 4th battle, between May 11th and May 18th. This was Operation Diadem. The Allied strategy relied on a massive synchronized artillery barrage involving 1,600 guns. The volume of fire required for the Polish infantry to advance was staggering. The guns could not go silent. If the ammunition flow stopped for even 30 minutes, the infantry on the ridges would be cut to pieces by German counterattacks. The weather turned. Rain turned the mountain dust into a thick, adhesive clay. The mules, burdened by crates, began to slip. Some fell into the ravines. Others simply refused to move, frozen by the terrifying Nebwerfer rocket fire that screamed across the sky. Wojtek became a logistic force multiplier. He didn't just carry crates, he optimized the entire supply chain. Because he could carry a crate single-handedly, he freed up 3 men to either carry more ammunition or defend the supply line. In military terms, he increased the throughput of the 22nd Company by nearly 300%. But the technical efficiency was only half the story. The real turning point was the psychological shift. A soldier at Monte Cassino lived in a state of constant grinding attrition. You watched your friends disappear in puffs of gray smoke. You lived in a hole. You ate cold rations. You were exhausted. But then, through the smoke of a German barrage, you see a bear. He isn't running. He isn't hiding. He is calmly walking toward the gun pits with a crate of shells, his eyes focused, his pace steady. The green devils on the mountain looked through their binoculars and saw a beast out of legend. The Polish soldiers looked at their comrade and felt a surge of defiant pride. If the bear can do it, we can do it. Wojtek became the living embodiment of Polish resilience. He was a psychological weapon that the German intelligence had no counter for. Between May 11th and 18th, Wojtek allegedly never dropped a single crate. Even when shells landed close enough to spray him with dirt, he kept moving. He understood the mechanics of the mission. The guns must keep firing. On May 18, 1944, a patrol of the 12th Podolian Uhlans finally reached the ruins of the abbey. They raised a makeshift Polish flag, sewn from a Red Cross bandage and a blue soldier's handkerchief, over a mountain of rubble. The Gustav Line was broken. The road to Rome was open. When the war ended, the Polish soldiers faced a tragic reality. Their country was falling under Soviet influence. The very men who had bled at Monte Cassino were now enemies of the state to the new puppet government in Warsaw. Many could not return home for fear of execution or the Gulag. The 22nd Company was demobilized in Berwickshire, Scotland. Wojtek's final deployment was to the Edinburgh Zoo. For years, his former comrades would visit him. They would toss him cigarettes, which he would still catch and eat, and speak to him in Polish. The bear would perk up at the sound of the language, often saluting the men who had been his only family. He wasn't just a zoo exhibit, he was a veteran in retirement. He passed away in 1963, a corporal of the Polish army and a hero of the Italian campaign. The story of Wojtek is often told as a charming anecdote, a believe-it-or-not footnote of history. But in the context of the mechanics of victory, he was a vital component of a complex machine. He was a solution to a terrain problem that nearly broke the Allied war effort. He was a reminder that when technology fails and geography conspires against you, the path to victory is found in the most unorthodox places. At Monte Cassino, victory wasn't just found in the barrel of a rifle or the strategy of a general. It was found in the strength of those who carried the weight, man and beast alike. The 22nd Company's official insignia was changed to a bear carrying an artillery shell. To this day, it remains a symbol of the impossible made possible. It serves as a reminder that in the chaos of war, your most valuable asset might not be a new tank or a secret code. It might be the shaggy 500-pound private who refuses to drop his crate. This has been the Tactical Log. If you want to see more breakdowns of the strange, the brilliant, and the bold moments that shaped the battlefield, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. History is a log of choices. Make the right one. Until next time.